going on, people? It's your boy Tops back again, and Aston Villa are going to make a formal complaint to the PGMOL after that atrocious decision that cost them Champions League football away at Old Trafford against Manchester United. Now, before we get into it, make sure you guys like the video, subscribe to the channel, because T-Chanto Sports is the home of sports. Now, let's get into it now. Now, the Premiership have obviously had a warning sent to them by Aston Villa that they're going to let everybody know that they're going to make a formal complaint about that decision, and about the decision not only obviously in the game, but to appoint Thomas Bramall to officiate the game. Now, he's a pretty much inexperienced referee, and yeah, it was a massive game. Champions League on the line for Aston Villa. They needed to win, or needed to get a positive result to get into that top 5. They ended up losing the game, and because of that, they did not get into the Champions League, costing them millions of pounds. And let's get into the actual mistake now. Thomas Bramall, the referee, he blew for a foul when Morgan Rogers apparently nudged the ball away from the United keeper, Buendia. But before that actually happened, before he could pull it into the back of the net, he blew his whistle. Now, any kind of referee will say play advantage, even if you're unsure, if there's an action where there's a potential goal, just let the goal go into the back of the net and then you can review it. That's what VAR's for. So for me, for once, I'm not going to blame VAR. I don't think VAR is to blame. I think it's that the actual refereeing decision to blow the whistle before the actual initial ball went into the back of the net, and I feel that's what's cost obviously Aston Villa, and yeah, the goal as well, man. Obviously, the report says Bramall thought that Buendia had 2 hands on the ball. Through television footage suggests otherwise, and because he stopped the ball from he stopped the play before the ball crossed the line, the video assistant referee could not intervene, so that's VAR. So like I said, because the ball didn't go over the line before he blew the whistle, they couldn't bring it back and obviously allow the goal, which is one of the biggest travesties this season, especially for a game of magnificent importance, because Aston Villa, like I said, they had to get a positive result to get into the Champions League, and it's a lot of money, a lot of Champions League money on the line when you talk about the fine margins. And this is obviously not good enough in terms of how the referees have been performing as a whole for every club, to be honest with you. There's been a lot of mistakes. VAR's not been used in the right way, in my opinion. I feel like the way they should use VAR is that they should go to it, but ultimately the ref has the final say, not being told whether this is the right decision or not before they go over there, because otherwise they're basically just re-reffing the game, aren't they? Because the referee doesn't have any kind of say or kind of power to say, you know what, I think it was a penalty, I'm going to stick with it, or I don't think I want to overturn that, I'm going to give my original decision. If it's used in that way, then there's a little bit more accountability for the refs, and obviously VAR is doing its job. But at the minute, we're getting a lot of instances where VAR is not even telling the ref to go to the screen, and when it is, it's giving a ref an alternative way of thinking in terms of, we think it's this, make sure you give this decision. So even when it's a bit contentious and is it enough to really change my mind, you're getting that thing where they just change it because they've been shown to obviously the screen. So yeah, that's my thoughts on VAR for a minute. Bramall, he's 35, first refereed in the Premier League in 2022, so pretty new, to be honest with you, only 3 years in. You know what I mean? When you look at the likes of like Michael Oliver and Anthony Taylor, these guys have been refereeing for like 10 plus years at least in the Premier League. So yeah, to get a referee of that magnitude, it is a bit surprising, to be fair. And yeah, his games this season have largely been either in the top flight or in the Championship. 11 in the Premier League, 12 in the Championship, so pretty even in terms of where he actually referees on a full-time basis, man. About the 10 refs to be appointed in Sunday's obviously final game of the Premier League, Bramall has officiated the second fewest top-flight matches this season, along with Lewis Smith, who took charge of his 7th game, Bournemouth versus Leicester. Now, look at the difference of the games, guys. Now, I do feel like Aston Villa have got a case here, because look at the difference of the games. These are the two most inexperienced referees in terms of refereeing high-pressure Premier League games. And look at what Lewis Smith got. He got Bournemouth versus Leicester. A dead rubber. Bournemouth couldn't really get any higher. Leicester already been relegated. So it was literally a nothing game. So any kind of contentious decisions, neither team's going to be really too bothered about, because, again, their fate has already been sealed before the game. You compare that to this game, which in hindsight, even though obviously it's Manchester United, they've had a poor season, it would be a big game anyway because it's Manchester United. But the fact that Villa are fighting for Champions League as well at the same time, you're going to question the decision to give him this kind of game, especially when you know any wrong decision can ultimately cost Villa a lot in terms of going forward, and not even just in terms of next season. Financially, they might actually now struggle to obviously compete because, again, they might have been relying on that Champions League money to get in the likes of Rashford and essentially on a full-time basis. Now they're going to be in, obviously, in the Europa League, the money drops significantly, and also it means they might potentially have to sell more players like Emi Martinez, for example. So yeah, very, very, very poor decision in my opinion. But yeah, man, it goes on to say, obviously, people inside, obviously, the footballing committee would have expected one of the top officials to have been appointed for the Manchester United Aston Villa game. He added he was surprised and disappointed that Oliver was appointed VAR for the Tottenham defeat against Brighton, and it was difficult to understand why he was not picked to referee a big game in Sunday's final round. Now, listen, I'm not going to say I'm Michael Oliver's biggest fan, but what I will say is that he's obviously a better choice and a better option than an inexperienced referee, because at least Michael Oliver has been there, refereed the biggest games, and you can go off it from there. But yeah, man, I feel like they did make a howler, and it's crazy, man. It is crazy. Like, Oliver has refereed 26 Premier League matches this season, owed behind Anthony Taylor, who's in charge of Chelsea's win at Nottingham Forest on 31. So you look at the two different referees, and that's the kind of level of referee you expect for this game, because Aston Villa, there's a lot riding on it and a lot at stake, a lot on the line, man. But yeah, man, it just goes on to say, obviously, the PGMOL has not obviously commented on why individuals are appointed certain kind of matches. It just says that all match officials must submit a declaration of interest from before the start of each season to whether they want to be included or not, get picked. And then it's up to, obviously, the PGMOL, as well as, obviously, Howard Webb to really appoint who they think deserves to, obviously, referee certain types of matches. But yeah, given the Newcastle loss to Everton on Sunday, if Villa had beaten Manchester United, they would have qualified for the Champions League in fifth instead. Oliver is a Newcastle fan, so he could not have taken charge of the Everton match. That's true. However, it's unclear if it also meant he was not appointed to officiate Villa or Manchester City. Yeah, that's a very good point, actually. So maybe his allegiances obviously allowed him not to referee those games competing with Newcastle, because they'll be in the running with Newcastle for a Champions League qualification. But yeah, Oliver last took charge of a Premier League game involving Villa when Emery's side beat Chelsea 2-1 in February. So yeah, that's quite a long time ago, to be fair, to not referee a Villa game, to be honest, man. But yeah, man. Former Premier League referee Chris Foy says Bramwell's decision was an unfortunate incident, but the many referees would have given a foul in that situation. So trying to obviously defend him as well. He's been given the Villa game on merit. He's worthy of the appointment. Unfortunately, we are talking about one decision because he made it a really good decision to send the goalkeeper off and took his time to give the penalty. He was going really well, but unfortunately, we're talking about this one decision. Yeah, well, yeah, and that's obviously the remit of obviously being a referee, man. You could get everything right, 99 things out of 100, but if that one that you get wrong, that is a massive mistake, then it's going to cost a team dearly, and it has for Aston Villa, man. So yeah, it'll be interesting to see how this story obviously develops. We're going to have to wait and see what actually happens to Aston Villa in terms of, will they get compensation? Will they get an apology? What will they get in terms of replacing? Obviously, they're not going to get Champions League now after that decision. But yeah, we'll have to wait and see what happens, man. But yeah, that's been a quick update, obviously, on the Aston Villa situation. And yeah, we'll have to wait and see what happens, man. But yeah, big up for everyone tuning into the video. Make sure you guys like the video, subscribe to the channel. And until next time, you guys know what to do. It's been your boy Tops. And until next time, I'm out, people. Peace.